Good morning. How are you on this beautiful day? It is gorgeous. Could you rise in body and spirit as you are willing and able for our opening hymn? Please remain standing, and I'd like Zach and Zoe and Ben to come forward for the lighting of our chalice. And as they're doing so, we will read our covenant, our relatively new and young and wonderful covenant, as they light the chalice. Could we join together? We covenant to embrace one another in community by welcoming all with an open heart and generous spirit, seeking to understand others with grace and patience, speaking our truths bravely and respectfully, and creating space for all to be heard. May we greet one another. please remain seated as we sing together our centering song. We are a ritual creating species, and they help us focus our attention on important moments that otherwise might slip away. In our fast-paced and busy world, we may struggle to stop and acknowledge the small and large and sometimes subtle joys and sorrows that shape our inner selves and our relationships to others. As stone and water give form to the natural landscape of which we are a part, so our joys and concerns shape the ripples in the sacred pool of our spirits and our life together. Each Sunday, we join one another in a ritual of silently dropping stones into a bowl of water as we honor, in our own way, the joys and concerns and sorrows in our heart and mind, both large and small. Together, we honor our own and one another's joys and concerns and sorrows. I invite you now, as you feel so moved, to come forward and to drop a stone for your joy or sorrow. If you are on Zoom, you can type your joy or concern in the comments. I will drop a joy stone and a sorrow and concern stone for those unspoken joys and concerns not yet ripe for expression in our hearts and minds. Could we remain seated as we sing together, Spirit of Life? As a free and independent church, we are not supported by rich individuals, the government, or any large organization that supports us. We are supported by you, the individual members, individually and collectively, who are kind enough and generous enough to share their resources with the congregation. At this time, an offering will be given and very gratefully received. You may make your contribution by using the text to the give capability described on the screen, or for those in the sanctuary, by using the boxes on either side of the doors as we exit. Thank you for all your gifts.
So in the spirit of Black History Month, I wanted to do a couple of songs today that are written by Black composers. And the first one here is really an all-time classic. Certainly for those of us that are over 40, we probably remember when it came out. For those of us that are under 40, you've probably seen the recently released Netflix documentary about it. And so please do not hesitate to sing along, that this is a classic tune for the choir to sing. And if you really want to, you can download the Zippo app and, you know, wave a lighter in the sky as we sing. Right? There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere soon will make a change. We're all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me. Oh, send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free. as God has shown us by turning stones to bread. So we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me. Oh, when we're down and out, and there seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. Well, let's realize, oh, that change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me. 'Cause we are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me.
That was a tough act to follow. Thank you, Jeff. Jet Pig and I are here this morning. El Jet Pig. We remember El Jet Pig. Jet Pig is teaching us our newly proposed UU values: love, justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. What do you have in your Jetpack backpack today, Jet Pig? A cookie. Oh. And a tea bag. Are you going to a tea party, Jet Pig? Oh, yes, okay. I know a story about a tea party. Should I tell it? Yes. All right. This story is by Becky Brooks, who is a DRE and storyteller and worship creator and friend of mine and overall wonderful person. And it goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a teacher named, why did I just forget her name? Miss Sophia. Named Sophia. Once upon a time, there was a teacher named Sophia. And Sophia was one of those wonderful teachers. You may have had a teacher like this. She had been teaching for so long that by this point in her career, some of the kids that she had taught in the early days now had kids of their own, and their kids were now in her class, right? She was not just a fantastic teacher, but she was just a nice person. Everyone loved her. She was kind, she was generous, she was patient. She was just really, really sweet. One day, it was a Friday afternoon. It was the end of the long school day. She was putting her stuff away. She was getting ready to leave. And she looked on her desk, and there was a note. There was a note on her desk, and it said, "Dear Sophia, I will be in the neighborhood tomorrow, and I would love to stop by your house for tea. Could I do that? Love, God." Now, Sophia was a person who believed in God, but she didn't know that she believed in a God who would leave her a note and ask if God could stop by. And she thought maybe this was a joke, but it seemed like a kind of a mean joke, not a funny joke anyway. And she couldn't think of anyone who would play a kind of a mean, not funny joke on her. So she started to think, well, what if this was real? What if God was really going to come and stop by her house tomorrow for tea? What should she do? So she got in her car and she went immediately to Target to get a new welcome mat, because her welcome mat had gotten grungy over the years, as they do, right? And she decided the first thing she needed was a brand new welcome mat. She picked out one with nice rainbow colors. It had welcome in really big letters. She got a new welcome mat. She put it in front of her door. And then, next thing you would do would be clean your house, right? She got to work. She cleaned her house top to bottom, spick and span, got it nice and ready for a special guest, as we would all do if we were having a special guest come and visit. She went to her garden. She picked some really beautiful flowers, arranged them in a nice vase, and she went to bed, excited and a little nervous about what was going to happen the next day. She woke up on Saturday morning, and she started to cook. She wasn't quite sure what kind of food God likes. So she made a casserole, she made a quiche, she made some muffins, she made some bread, she made some chocolate chip cookies. God had specifically mentioned tea, but she wasn't sure. Did God like hot tea? Did God like cold tea, iced tea? She made both. And because it was going to be a hot day, she also made some lemonade, because she wasn't sure. Maybe God would like lemonade. She made all the food, all the drinks, put out her nicest tablecloth, made sure the flowers looked really pretty. And then she sat down at the table and just waited. And all of a sudden, there was a knock at the door. And her heart went pat, 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 pat. She took a deep breath. She opened the door. And it was the mayor of her town. And the mayor said, Miss Sophia, I could smell the fresh baked bread from the street. It smells so good. Do you mind if I come in? And Miss Sophia said, well, of course, you know, I'm actually expecting a very important visitor who you might want to meet. So come on in. We can slice the bread and we can have some bread. So Miss Sophia and the mayor sat and chit-chatted. And while they were talking, there was another knock at the door. And Miss Sophia's heart went pit, 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 pat. And she took a deep breath. And she opened the door. And there were a bunch of kids from her class. And they said, Miss Sophia, we could smell the chocolate chip cookies from the street. Can we come in? And Miss Sophia said, well, of course. I'm actually expecting a very important visitor who you might like to meet. And so the kids came in, and they were giving a lot of very good advice to the mayor about how to run the city. And they were all enjoying the cookies and the bread. And all of a sudden, there was another knock at the door. And Miss Sophia's heart went pat, pat, pat. And she took a deep breath. And she opened the door. And it was the entire women's group from the church. And they said, Miss Sophia, we heard the whistling of the tea kettle, and we heard laughter and voices, and we thought you might be having a little gathering, and we thought maybe we should stop by. And she said, well, you know what? I am expecting a very important visitor who you might like to meet, so why don't you all just come in? And so the entire women's group all came in, and they sat down, and they helped themselves to the quiche and the casserole and the muffins and the bread. And everyone was having such a lovely time. And throughout the rest of the day, this just kept happening. People kept knocking at the door, friends and relatives and neighbors. Everybody was just drawn to the energy and the food and the excitement and the people. Well into the evening, people kept coming. People brought food, people brought musical instruments, people brought games. Into the night, the party continued. So that by the end of the evening, when the house was packed with people and they spilled out into the lawn and there was dancing and laughing and joy, Sophia had completely forgotten what had started this all in the first place. She'd forgotten that God was supposed to visit She was having so much fun. She went to bed feeling completely content and happy. The next day, though, she woke up and she thought, wait a minute. I thought that God was supposed to visit yesterday. I wonder why that didn't happen. On Monday, she went to school, she went to work, and on her desk, there was a note. And it said, "Dear Sophia, thank you so much for the wonderful party at your house on Saturday. I love the bread and the chocolate chip cookies. Lemonade and iced tea mixed together is my favorite drink. We should do it again sometime. Love, God." Thank you for listening to my story. It is now time for our children to go to religious education classes. We will sing our sending song through 3 times. The first time we sing it together, the second time our teachers will go into the lobby, and the third time our kids will go and join them in the lobby. Pickup from religious education is at 10:45. Thank you.
Good morning. I am tickled pink to be here with you and with the folks on Zoom doing this. And my thanks again to Reverend Ed for extending an invitation for me to do so. I have a morning reading for you. It's an excerpt from the book Radical Hospitality by Father Daniel Homan and Lonnie Collins Pratt. They write, "Here is the core of hospitality. May I know you better? Will you come closer, please? No, it will not be easy, but make no mistake about it. Your life depends on this saving stranger coming to you and stretching your tight little heart. Hospitality is a personal response to your own need to connect with other people. This need is at the core of what it means to be human. Your entire humanity, your identity itself is wrapped up in your need to connect. The real question," they write, "is not how dangerous that stranger is. The real question is how dangerous will I become if I don't learn to be more open?" The words of Father Daniel Homan and Lonnie Collins Pratt.
War is holy and sex is obscene. We've got it twisted in this lucid dream, baptized in boundaries, schooled in sin, divided by difference, sexuality. fear each other. We can build these walls between each other, baby, blow by blow and brick by brick. Keep yourself locked in, yeah, we can hate each other and fear each other. We can build these walls between each other, baby, blow by blow, brick by brick. Keep yourself locked in, oh, maybe we should love somebody. Oh, maybe we could care a little more. So maybe we should love somebody instead of polishing the bombs of holy war. What if sex was holy and war was obscene and it wasn't twisted? What a wonderful dream, living for love, unafraid of the end. Forgiveness is the only real revenge. So we can heal each other and feel each other. We can break these walls between each other, baby, blow by blow and brick by brick. Keep yourself open, yeah, we can heal each other and feel each other. We can break these walls between each other, baby, blow by blow and brick by brick. Keep yourself open. So maybe we should love somebody. Oh, maybe we could care a little more. Oh, maybe we should love somebody instead of polishing the bombs of holy war. What if love was holy and hate obscene? We should give life to this beautiful dream. 'Cause peace and love ain't so far if we nurse our wounds before they scar. Nurse our wounds before they scar.
Thank you, Jeff and Joy, for the beautiful music. The following is a true story. The names have been deleted to protect the innocent and the not so innocent. Several years ago, while I was working full-time for the Central East region of the UUA, I was invited by the minister of a rather large congregation in Maryland to come to a worship service anonymously. She had begun recently her ministry at this church and had the sense that members of the congregation were not as welcoming as they could be. So I was to play the role of a mild-mannered visitor interested in sitting in on a worship service and seeing what it was all about. I agreed to take on the assignment and showed up for the second of their two services. As I entered, I had to search for someone who would acknowledge my presence, and I finally spotted two people behind what I assumed was the welcome table. They did greet me warmly, handed me a name tag, and directed me to the sanctuary where the service would be starting in a few minutes. I didn't want to sit down right away, so I decided to explore the building a bit and strolled around, passing scores of congregants along the way. In fact, that was my intention. I purposely looked at people as I passed them, trying to be as noticeable as I could. I recall that not one person smiled back, and most did not even look in my direction. And no one said hello or tried to engage me in conversation. Feeling quite alone, I quickly made my way to the sanctuary, seeking solace in one of the pews. After a few minutes, someone sat down directly behind me, leaned forward, and asked me if I was visiting for the first time. When I responded in the affirmative, she said, "Welcome." I said, "It's too late." No, I'm just kidding. I didn't really say that. After the lovely worship service, I made my way again down the hallway and entered a room where folks congregated to drink coffee and eat cookies. I grabbed a cup. I was instructed to take a yellow cup, signifying my visitor status, and a cookie. I don't remember what color the cookie was. And I went to a corner of the room where I could be clearly seen. I remember standing there for about 5 minutes or so. It seemed a lot longer than that, with my cup and my cookie, and not one person came over to me. It was obvious by my positioning that I was not with anyone. I even raised my yellow coffee cup high in the air so that people could see I was a visitor. Nothing worked. This is a true story, I'd like to remind you. Eventually, I gave up, finished my coffee and cookie, and headed back down the hallway to meet up with the minister and the board to whom I was to report on my welcoming experience. While it may not have come as a surprise to the minister, I believe many members of the board, as I recall, were quite shocked that their congregation was not as welcoming as they thought they were. I also remember thinking that if this had been a real experience and I was someone who was seriously considering this congregation, I would not have stepped into that building again. During my tenure with the region, and now as adjunct staff with the region, I have experienced this kind of reception over and over again. It is the rule, my friends, rather than the exception. I stand by the statement that I made years ago and still believe Unitarian Universalist congregations are not as welcoming as they think they are, and they are certainly not as welcoming as they need to be, and I include our congregation in that list. But hospitality, particularly radical hospitality, begins with but goes far beyond merely welcoming the stranger. In their book, which I cited in the opening reading, entitled Radical Hospitality, Benedict's Way of Love, authors Father Daniel Homan and Lonnie Collins Pratt envision radical hospitality as something that goes beyond mere politeness and surface-level interactions. It emphasizes the idea of welcoming others with an open heart and a generous spirit, viewing every encounter as an opportunity for personal growth and a way to connect with our spiritual selves. Radical hospitality enables us to create more inclusive communities, better live out our promises to each other, and reach out to those who are marginalized. Many of the ideas that I will share with you this morning are drawn from this inspirational book. Saint Benedict of Nursia was a 6th century Italian Christian monk, writer, and theologian who wrote The Rule of Saint Benedict, The Rule of Saint Benedict, a book of rules or guidelines for his monks to follow and for the daily life and organization of monastic communities. The rule has endured for the past 1,500 years, and its teachings among the monastic community are still followed today. They have great relevance for we Unitarian Universalists who seek harmony among ourselves and our communities, and the hope that we can encourage others to join us. In the Benedictine way of radical hospitality, we are expected to provide a profound and unconditional welcome extended to all, regardless of their background, social status, or circumstances. We claim this in our worship service introductions, do we not? I hear this in congregations where I am privileged to offer sermons. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever you believe, whomever you love, you are welcome here. But do we truly honor this pledge? We are, after all, human beings, and we are inclined to feel more comfortable with people we know, people who are like us. And as human beings, we feel less comfortable when we are with people who have different ideas and interests, different points of view, different backgrounds, different perspectives. Over the years, I have worked with many congregations who have prized being with, quote, like-minded persons. Some even build it into their mission. Marilyn Sewell is a writer, leader, activist, and speaker. She is the Minister Emerita of the First Unitarian Church of Portland, Oregon, where she served as the senior minister for 17 years before she retired. As she sees it, we need to not just talk about opening the doors, we need to open our hearts. She writes, I speak of radical hospitality today because there is a world out there that needs home, that needs community, and I want us to stretch spiritually, to stretch ourselves open. I know that when we take the risk, we'll make mistakes, but our lives will grow so much richer and deeper because we have extended ourselves. Our creativity will blossom, for we will not be stuck with our old assumptions, our narrow ways of perceiving reality. Our world will grow wider and softer and more trusting. Hospitality is not a mere social grace. It is spiritual and an ethical issue. It is an issue involving what it means to be human. To receive others is to expose ourselves to all sorts of frightful dangers of attachment and rejection. Hospitality acknowledges the vulnerability of being human, both my humanity and that of the stranger. And yet, our Unitarian Universalist principles compel us to engage in radical hospitality. We take pride in our first principle, respecting the inherent worth and dignity of every person. But what does it mean? How do we show it? If I feel ignored, if I feel alone in a church full of people, am I expected to understand or believe in our first principle? If I don't feel connected to those around me, can I have faith in our seventh principle, respecting the interpersonal web of life of which we are all a part? The rule of St. Benedict teaches us that hospitality, rather than being something you achieve, is something you enter, something you enter. It is not something you do as much as it is someone you become. You try and you fail and you try again. You make room for one person at a time, and each of these choices of the heart stretches your ability to receive others. This is how we grow more hospitable, by welcoming one person at a time when the opportunity is given to us. And this practice of hospitality is not easy. There are hurdles, there are elements, there are enemies of hospitality. And among them are fear, suspicion, and self-centeredness. Many of us are unwilling to trust others to give us what we need. We grow callous and hesitant from the fear of being rejected. And so we keep people at a distance. And for many of us, we are so caught up in our own lives, in our own problems or struggles to just live, that we lose sight of others, that we lose sight of what else is important. There is a market in Mexico City where an old man named Padalamo is selling onions. There are 20 strings of onions in front of him when an American walks up and asks, "How much for a string of onions?" 10 cents, says the old man. "How much for all of it, the whole 20 strings?" "I will not sell you the whole 20 strings," replies Padalamo. "Why not?" asks the American. "Aren't you here to sell onions?" "No, I am here to live my life. I love this market. I love the children. I love when my friends come by and talk about their babies and their crops. That is my life, and for that reason I sit here with my 20 strings of onions. If I sell all my onions to one customer, then my day is over, and I have lost my life that I love, and that I will not do." As members of a congregation, do we live our lives selling onions, or do we enjoy our lives with our fellow congregants? Do we pay more attention to our own thoughts and needs, to what we have to get done? Or do we reach out to others, even the stranger, to engage with them, to listen to their thoughts, and in so doing, perhaps meet their needs? Listening has been called the key to St. Benedict's entire spiritual teaching, the core meaning of hospitality. It is a special kind of deep attentiveness to all of life. Benedict's rule is a guide to sharpening the ears of the heart. I love that expression, the ears of the heart. Listen, St. Benedict tells us, listen. It will sometimes break your heart, but it will also give you a heart. Authors Homan and Pratt tell us that hospitality is a way to counter the thousands of times another human being had felt less than human because others didn't listen. When you listen, you get past yourself. The focus switches from the self to the other. If we do no other thing than train ourselves to listen to others, they advise, we will have taken great steps to hospitality. But St. Benedict doesn't call us to listen on the surface. He wants us to listen way down deep. This is from the book on radical hospitality. You know the place. It's the same place that weeps at the sight of a newborn, the same place that falls silent at the edge of a mountain, the same place that reaches for a falling sparrow. Listen from that place. Listening is at the heart of Benedictine spirituality because it is the only way to see through the eyes of another. When we listen to another, we catch a slight glimpse of their soul. We create an open page where they are free to write their story. Welcoming, connecting, listening, reaching out. These are the keys to radical hospitality. These are the ways that Unitarian Universalists should be with one another and with the stranger. I close with one more quote from Father Homan and Lonnie Collins Pratt. What matters is that we stretch our hearts open and draw near to each other. It is the way of hospitality, the way of life, and it is in this remote place where we have awakened to find ourselves the only way home. So may it be.